recording, and I am good whenever you are ready.
All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready for this? All right, ready. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to this GGP event. My name is Dr. Lindsay Miglior. I am the Executive Director of Queer Women of Esports. We are so pumped to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how long-winded we get, to talk to you about our amazing nonprofit and all of the wonderful things we're doing in the esports space. But before we do that, I would love to have the people I am with introduce themselves because they are way cooler than me. So, Dr. Sarah Hayes, would you mind leading us off?
Of course. Hey, everybody. My name is Dr. Sarah Hayes. I am the people lead at Queer Women of Esports. Most notably, I run our mentorship program, which we're going to get back to in just a second. But why don't I hand off to Nick?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Really happy to be here. My name is Nick Duraggio, esports producer, content creator, Super Smash Brothers, Melee obsessive fan for my entire life. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm a huge fan of the mentorship program, and I'm just excited to share about how great it is, how helpful it's been for me.
I'm Trent Schaefer. I was a mentee for this program. I'm like a Melee Twitter tycoon. You know, I got all these people watching my back, watching my every move. So I'm glad I could put on a show for them and do something I'm really proud of with this program.
And y'all hear a lot more about Trin and all the stuff they're doing in a little bit. But before we get to that, I just want to talk about QWE for a moment. When GGP reached out to us and said, hey, we'd love for you to come talk about your organization, I said, I would love to do that, but the better thing would be is to talk about the things we are doing. Because when we had the idea to start a nonprofit a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, to focus on marginalized individuals in competitive video gaming, we were very clear from the beginning that we wanted to have a purpose, right? So there are lots of amazing, wonderful, inclusive communities out there that are places where people can game together and network. But for us, it was really about creating an initiative and creating action items. And one of the things that happened to me when I was growing up was I was really good at Call of Duty. I did play some Smash back in the day, but I wasn't as good as either of these two in chat. But Call of Duty was really my game. And I was thinking I wanted to go pro. And this was right around the time I was discovering that I was also gay. And if you remember Modern Warfare 2, back in the days of open lobbies, open comms, those two things, especially in the 2000s, didn't really mix up. And so I quit esports and went to medical school. And at that time, there was really no place to go where I could train with other people who weren't going to say gay slurs or train with people who were even marginalized genders at the time. And there certainly weren't any people who I could turn to for advice. And that is really what it is, because we look at the way the industry is. We look at the top 500 esports earners of 2021. Not a single woman. We look at the top 500 esports earners of 2020. Not a single woman. We look at the top 500 esports earners of 2019. We got one woman, Scarlett. She's there. So you have to go back 3 years. You know, you look at the top esports organizations in terms of leadership. There's only one female CEO, Nicole LaPointe Jameson. If you look at the demographics of teams, of pro orgs, it's very similar. And so when you come down to that, and when you look at all of these people and you look up the makeup, you have two options, right? First option is white cis men are better at video games and smarter and better at math, and they get better jobs because they're just intrinsically better. And the other option is that there are barriers to people who don't fall into those categories to getting involved with esports, right? And when it comes down to it, those are your only two options. Those are your only two options. We can deal with nuance all you want, but those are your two options. So we want to eliminate those barriers. And one of the reasons we are doing that, one of the ways we are doing that, is by creating active mentorship. Active mentorship, not just someone who's giving you advice, right? Because everyone loves to give advice. Someone who is giving you active opportunities and reaching out and not just holding the microphone while you talk, but passing off the microphone. And that is why we are so overwhelmingly overjoyed to have people like Nick work with us, industry leaders, industry experts who are extending the hand to people who want to be involved and want to get more involved in the esports industry. But now I'm going into the mentorship category, so I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Hayes to talk a little bit more about our mentorship program. Dr. Hayes.
Thanks, Dr. M. So part of what we were talking about in the beginnings of QWE, when we were first starting to figure out, well, where do we want to make a difference? How do we want to make this happen? We debated a few different things. We talked about how we wanted to go about that and how we could make the most and best amount of change and quality. And we thought about everything from sponsorship to mentorship, and really landed on mentorship for a few reasons. Firstly, because it's a more intensive and quality assuring experience, but also because we could do that faster. We didn't have to worry about raising the funds as a nonprofit to figure out how in the world are we going to sponsor these people, but we can make a difference starting right from scratch. And so immediately we started in developing this mentorship program so it can be far and away as much as I hate to toot my own horn, I think we've developed it into one of the best, if not the best mentorship program in esports right now. And so we have several things that we do to make that a reality. First of all, we take a small pool. We only have 20 mentors and 20 mentees that we pair one-on-one together. In doing so, we ensure that not only can we keep track of what's happening, so we don't have any mentees or mentor relationships falling through the cracks, but also we can ensure that we can pick amazing industry experts, and we can also pair them with quality candidates who are searching for the ability to thrive and grow in a really safe space. And that was incredibly important to us when we were working on forming this mentorship program and, frankly, the nonprofit. It's really important to us through and through in our mission and our vision to be able to create safe spaces in order to help people thrive and get a fair shot at doing the thing that they love without that nasty experience that people have so often in those open lobbies and how we used to know it to be. In that mentorship program, we offer monthly educational experiences from leading industry experts who share their knowledge on various topics, from professional development and problem solving to situations specific to the esports world. We also offer workshops to follow up on that. So if there's specific questions that mentees want to ask and dive deep into and understand the explanation for, we host that space so there can be that conversation. Beyond that, we ask the mentees, and the thrust of our program is to do this capstone project. In the capstone project, we've asked them to identify a barrier or a problem in the esports industry related to diversity or a lack of equality, and then to address it in a very direct and singular way. And so each mentee is given the opportunity to work on this throughout as a major goal during the mentorship program, which lasts 6 months. And then at the end of it, they present it to us and the mentorship advisory board, and they are given the chance to compete for a scholarship. And we have a total scholarship pool of $15,000 thanks to our generous sponsors at AIM Lab. So with all of that together, we have built this foundation to teach and to grow. There's also community space specific to and protective of that mentorship program in our Discord, where we are running those educational nights. And then we also provide different peripherals for the mentees and Chromebook tablets. So we offer equipment, we offer education, and we offer an ability to make significant change and get rewarded for it. So that's our mentorship program. And with that, I'll toss it back to you, Dr. M.
So Dr. Hayes is this wonderful thing where she always understates herself because she's a psychologist and she's like not used to talking herself up. So I just want to say, y'all, this is one of the things I am most proud of in my life is being involved in this. So if you're interested in getting involved in esports, or you're involved in esports and you want to give back, please, we're accepting mentee applications right now. And we have this cycle every 6 months. So we're always down to see you. And with that, so it's not just about me. Like, I work for the nonprofit, right? I'm a volunteer. Dr. Hayes is a volunteer. We could just be telling you anything. We could be telling you that everyone's going to get a snow cone machine in their high school gymnasium if you sign up for our...
I'm not getting a snow cone machine. I thought that's why I was
Dang
here.
it,
That's
Lindsay.
why I was doing this.
I
That was the
have my
award.
lawyers.
Yeah, We gotta go. Man, I wish I had one though. Maybe for next time.
You're right. We don't really give our mentors anything. I guess the gift of giving back is enough, right, Nick?
I mean, honestly, that as great as a segue as that was one of the primary things I wanted to talk about. So, as a mentor in this arrangement, I, for one, I thought I would be doing several things, right? I just assumed it would be okay. Someone's going to be giving me a lot of like work, and I'm going to be like proofreading it, or I'm going to be like looking over it. But it was, in actuality, a much more a beneficial relationship to myself as well. The one thing you should know about Trin is they're very good at Super Smash Bros. Melee, right? Like, that's the very core of why I think people should take a lot more pride in if they're good at a game or if they know a lot about a game, because that core a competency at Melee makes pretty much everything that Trin is involved in like real. It makes it authentic. It makes it, have this ability to attract top players and attract people like me that like to watch the top players. And, that is something that I saw very early on, I suppose. When we talked about some of the goals, it was always about, they wanted to be more connected. They wanted to have more opportunities. And as an esports journalist and someone who's been in this space for far too long, that's something that I have excess in. So, for me, it was a really nice balance, because I was given kind of a new way into a modern era of Melee and a modern era of gamers, and the gamers that want to make a change, that want to organize events. That's what I was doing when I was like 18 to 25, right? I was just like doing events in Arizona, and I was kind of following my passion. So I, for one, think that there are many more people like me, as in people who have the connections just because we know these people, and also the experience, right? I was able to guide a lot of the early building blocks when it comes to making what is an incredible deck. Trin, I hope that you get to show off that deck off in some way, but it's, very, very effective. And, there has to be more ways for old esports vets like me to give of their time, right? Because, in all of these emerging industries, everyone wants to be a thought leader. Everyone knows the dollar of a good idea or the thoughts or even the guidance of something. But how often are you, as someone who maybe has that knowledge, given an opportunity to just say, hey, I'll just show up and I'll get synced up with someone who really, really can do something with this advice, or can really do something with this connection, right? Someone who has a passion for the scene. That's not the type of work of finding someone that I could freely give time to that I would normally do. But the Queer Women of Esports mentorship program essentially made it like so easy for me to get involved. Even someone like me who's like always late for things. My schedule is a little busy. I'm kind of on my own freelancer permanent schedule, so it's hard to find times. But, they've been really, really accommodating. So me personally, from the very first time that Trin destroyed me when we played our first match of Melee, and I was already learning how to better pivot and how to better use movements, which you will be proud, Trin. I've been really trying to incorporate that in Samus. I would probably pass it off to Trin to hear more about, the capstone we worked on, why it was such a cool success, and, we may or may not have won second place in a contest, which I'm very proud of. So on to you, Trin.
So going into the mentorship, I knew exactly what I wanted to get out of it, because I was just like a little baby in this, a little fish in this huge pond, and I needed to find a way to like get all of this experience I had TOing in like my house. Like, since I was 16, I've been getting people into my house to play Smash. I've been putting little flyers, and then as we went to COVID, and I'm like, now the barrier of me living in a small town doesn't really exist, because now we're all online, and this is my chance to like spread my wings. I found it really hard because I didn't really have any professional skills. I just had the grassroots stuff, and Nick taught me those professional skills that I needed to get the funding and get the people I needed for my event, and that's exactly what I like needed. I think those skills in particular are ones that are like kind of gatekept behind, I don't know, like in schooling or I don't know. You know what I mean? Only you need to be in like a certain circle to like get those skills, and I was just able to just like get it from Nick because he knows it, you know.
Yeah,
So
and Trin, I just want to say that point you just said is so true, because even me myself, I'm like a shy person, pretty much, and most esports people are. So to even try to find this meeting, it's so true what you said about like how hard it is to just talk to someone in this industry and get that type of advice.
The first thing, like I asked Nick, I was like, I want to do so many things, but I don't have any money. How do you get money? And he's like, let me tell you what this thing called a pitch deck. So he sat down. Yeah, he sat down with me, and he's like, here's what you need to tell people. And I'm like, oh boy, I gotta be a capitalist now. I have to like assign numbers to my favorite thing, but you know, sometimes you gotta bite the bullet. So I sat down and I quantified why my hobby is worth anything, and I put it on a spreadsheet. And Nick looked over and he gave me the most insane notes ever. And I showed it off to some companies, and I raised $6,000 in sponsorship money to make my dream tournament happen. $6,000. So that event's happening in March.
That's huge, by the way. Like, just to underscore, you know how hard it is to just be like, hi, I'm new here. Can you give me money?
Okay.
But, you know,
when you learn about how niche it is too, 5,000 for a tournament that is for a mod of a game released in 2007. A mod of a game released in 2007. Not even the real game. A mod of Project M, by the way.
That's so grassroots. Like, that's grassroots esports at its finest, you know?
And sorry, go ahead.
I think one of the cool things, Trin, is that you probably had a lot of like Nick is great. We all love Nick. You probably had a lot of these skills and ability to do these things prior to joining the mentorship program. But we all walk around with this misconception that we're like, oh, I'll make this change. I'll do this thing when I'm older, when I have more money, when I'm more advanced in the field, when I have more connections. But it's like we all have these abilities to do all these things. But it's like someone like Nick comes around and is like, oh, no, you can do this. And you're like, no, I don't think I can. And you're like, no, all you got to do is like ask for it. And you're like, what do you mean ask for it? Ask who? Myself? And so I think that's like that empowerment from people like Nick is so cool, because you have all these abilities, you have all these talents. It's just like someone's got to be like, hey, go do it, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, like anyone who can wave dash, you know, like anyone who can, you know, have what it takes to like take a game and be like, wow, I'm obsessed with like the nuances of this. I'm obsessed with the intricacies. Like, it really is using that same kind of passion for like understanding systems. And once it's explained to you, I like, you know, the rules of capitalism, who knows, that was one way of putting it. But once it's like explained to you, I think in terms that match exact your skill set and interest, especially something like a gaming. I mean, even if you've only watched a tournament, you probably know way more about the consumer to like sponsor a relationship than you think, because, you know, you've been so experienced on that other end. You know the ads that work, or you know the things that you want to see, or you know the type of incentives that you like to see. You know, it really is about unpacking these skills we all have as gamers. That was really well put, Lindsay. I think that's like very true.
I'd also love to talk about the power of the pitch deck right now, because I also didn't know about the power of the pitch deck. And we are, you know, we're in our baby QWE phases, and I'm reaching out to DreamHack and I'm like, hey, we want to have a panel at your show. And Torben, they're amazing, one of the guys involved in the events and one of our mentors, was like, oh yeah, send me a pitch deck. And I was like, can you just talk to me like I'm 5? What do you mean by what is this pitch deck? And so we created a pitch deck. The first pitch deck I ever created in my entire life was to ask AimLab to be the sponsor of our mentorship program. And they gave us $20,000 from one pitch deck. The second pitch deck I ever created in my life was to ask Evil Geniuses to hire me, and they hired me. Like if you are sitting at home wondering, what do I do? How do I make, what do I make a pitch deck? Just do it. Just see what happens. See what happens. Trent, I also want to hear more about like your pitch deck and about this event. If you wouldn't mind sharing, like what's one of your favorite things about it?
So my favorite part of pitch deck is like there's no lies in it. I don't know. I feel like I'm able to finally show off what I like about my community. And this event isn't my capstone project. But my capstone project was kind of inspired by how good I felt from making this event happen, you know? So the event is an invitational tournament for a game that has been historically neglected by its developers. We're talking Nintendo sending cease and desist letters to tournaments to stop hosting that game. And I'm like, well, what if I just like went ham and hosted a really nice tournament? So I have it coming up in March, and the staff is entirely queer because my esports production team is entirely queer, and that's what I like to do, you know? So that's how I feel good about that too.
So you mentioned, and I'm so itching to show you off a little bit because I'm so dang proud of you and everything that's happened with our capstones, because we had our capstone presentations and I was absolutely blown away by what you've done. Because not only have you done and created and funded this tournament, but tell us a little bit more about what you've done.
My capstone?
Yeah.
Okay, so before I started the mentorship program for QWE, I was the admin of a little Discord group called Gaily, which I started not after an experience too dissimilar from Dr. Miglior's, where I was trying to go on a Smash Slider, which is like a matchmaking site, and people would recognize my tag and they'd call me slurs. Classic, right? The classic experience. So I was like, what if I didn't do that anymore? I just like, what if I stopped, you know, pushing this dumb boulder up the hill, and I made my own Discord for where you can matchmake with people who won't call you slurs. So I just posted it on Twitter, and then it got like 50, 60 members. And then there were people in the Discord that were top players, and people were like, OMG, I had no idea that this X player was gay. I had no idea X player was this. And I was like, whoa, representation is really cool. So I decided to host an invitational of all of the best players in the Discord. And a lot of top players were in it, and it had so many viewers and it had so much support that I kind of knew I had to pursue this, but I didn't have the avenues to do so. And then that's when I started the mentorship program, and me and Nick were like conjuring up what I could do for my capstone. We kind of had this idea to make traveling to tournaments easier by having like a program that makes it safer to travel to tournaments. And then I kind of stewed that in my brain a little bit, and I said, what if there was a presence at tournaments that made it safer for queer people? And that's when I knew how my Discord would progress into more of like a kind of an entity, kind of a body that would protect queer people in the Smash scene. And the capstone project was just that. I kind of laid out how I'm going to do it, and then I laid out that I made a pitch deck, and then at the end I revealed that the pitch deck worked, and I'm going to be at an upcoming major tournament, making a queer space for people at a major to hang out at. Is that enough? Is that?
Can you tell us more about, because I feel like you've done so much work in thinking out exactly what that presence is going to look like, what the capabilities are going to be, some of the services that Gaily provides and offers to tournaments. I think that it's just amazing the way you've put this all together. So what are some of the things that you offer at that tournament?
So we just like offer a dedicated space for queer people to hang out, and we also offer like kind of a body for people to discuss like kind of punitive measures for homophobia. Like there was a player in the Smash scene, I'm not going to name him, I guess. He was virulently transphobic. It was insane. Like the most stereotypical transphobia you can see. Also a Nazi. Sorry to say, and it took 2 years to get him banned. Two of them. 1 year, 2 year, 24 months. And I decided that's not okay. And it kind of only happened because of the COC disbanded, which is the conduct committee. And it disbanded. Guess why? because men were harassing the people who were like leading it. So I kind of wanted to fill that void, and I wanted to be like a voice that kind of says that kind of stuff. And I was like the only trans person on the committee that was banning the transphobe, and I was like, well, if I wasn't here, then who would be here? Who knows what would be happening? So I want to do that. I just like want to restructure the way the Smash community handles homophobia.
And you're doing it, right? Like
I think I am. I think I
doing
am.
it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like we can advocate for marginalized individuals in a variety of ways. We can go out and raise awareness, we can raise money, we can do mentorship and sponsorship programs, but at the end of the day, the best way to advocate is to go crush the industry yourself. And then when you're 5 years out, 10 years out, then some little individual who was you 10 years ago is like, what am I going to do with my life? And they look and they see you and they're like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like them. There's me in esports doing all of these things, being all of these things. And that representation is just, it's what we need, right? It's what we're doing. It's what everyone in this call is doing. And it's why I'm just like so enthralled and happy to hear your stories. And when we talk about these, I mean, so one of the things is like these stories are powerful, and they're so powerful. Like Dr. Hayes was saying, I just want to rehash this. One of the guys on our advisory committee who sat and was listening to capstone projects like Trins calls me and he's like, these were all great. I need to increase the prize funding by $25,000. That's our operating budget for the year, right? Like we're not used to having that kind of money. And
not even technically, yeah.
It's not even. And like Dr. Wayne Mackey of State Space, of the people behind AIM Lab, believes in it, and Nick believes in it, and we all believe in it because it's about bringing everyone up and making the esport. The thing is like when people hear the things we're doing, they're like, well, it's hard for white men too in the space, and it's like, oh. Yeah, we know, and you've just been sitting around and allowing it to happen. Like toxicity in gaming, toxicity in esports is not acceptable. So let's do something about it. So we're all doing something about it.
And to add to that point, I think part of why Trins kind of arc into being someone who has an idea, and then I really wish that it was easier to do this, right? That is a lived experience that, wasn't just swept under the rug, right? It would have been really easy to just say, I guess I'll just never find a safe place in which I can, find others to play without being harassed. But I think part of what we were talking about before, what makes the mentorship program so valuable is that really, just that little push of affirmation, or that push of like, hey, nope, you're on the right track. Here's a slight course correction, but just keep doing this. All of your ideas, they sound great. That can go a long way, especially when it comes to kind of trying to navigate, where do I fit in esports? What sort of opportunities? Because, like if it's not trying to make a safe place, it's trying to make a more accessible space. It's trying to make a space more inviting to different regions. It's trying to help locate talent from all of these sports, that aren't just in your major city hubs, right? There's so many different opportunities for esports to grow, but it really does take the gamers who have lived those experiences and know what it's like to suffer, to have their gaming community made less inviting because of these factors. That's the sort of authenticity that gets back. That's the sort of clear message that, I've heard your pitch. I see it on the pitch deck. We can actually take this and get the people who pull the knobs and levers. We can get them interested because it's a real thing. So, I would really just encourage anyone who may be listening to this and, they're trying to think of ways in which they can make the esports community better, right? Just jot those down. The first step is to capture whatever that thought is. And if you at least stare at it for long enough, maybe that thought will come in again and again. And then who knows, you'll find either a novel solution or you'll find the courage to do the thing does exist, but takes more nerve then a genius. And trust me, the industry needs both, not just the clever people, but also the brave ones. So I highly, highly suggest if you are trying to find ways to give of your time, seek this mentorship. We do it in every six months. There's a next wave, right? And we're already taking new people. So I'm sure the people who actually run it can better explain that. But I know that I will be re-upping, so to speak, right? If you would like more of my time, please bring me more talented esports people, and I can definitely help make their things happen.
Must be good at Smash.
No,
sorry,
you don't.
Go ahead.
Like the thing I want to stress most about like the mentorship is that we're kind of like, as esports has become like more and more commoditized, it seems harder to get in, and you can be kind of beaten down and kind of make you feel like, oh, I can't do it. Like, I'm not doing the biggest thing, so what I'm doing isn't worthwhile, or like I'm not in the circle, so I can't, make an advance. I can't advance. I'm sure there's hundreds or thousands of people like me in the esports scene that all have these talents and skills that they want to use to make a change in the esports scene, but they don't have the resources, or they don't have just like that professional experience that tends to be gatekept, and that's what like Nick provided me. So now I have that professional stuff that I can. I'm no longer just like, the ragtag, 6-person house tournament TO. At heart, I still am, but now I'm a ragtag 6-person house TO that can make a mean pitch deck and also understands like, how to, why numbers matter and stuff like that.
My heart feels so good. All right, y'all. Does anyone have any like final thoughts or final things they want to touch on? Any burning thoughts left in the mind to impart upon the wonderful viewers of this GGP event?
If you're into esports and if you wanna make it like a bigger part of your life and you don't know where to go, this is a good step to take.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I just wanted to piggyback off of the last thing that Trin said, and this will be my last words because I think it's vital. You must resist the temptation to compare your beginnings to the people you follow's current present, because like you follow them for a reason. Don't feel bad about it, but just like remember, you follow them because they're like either doing something you're interested in, or they're on their own path. So if you're just starting out, like that's fine, and it's fine to get 3 viewers because it's 3 people and you're still learning how to make content, right? It's fine to host an event and have 6 people show up. That's 6 people, your community of 6, right? Maybe try and get a community of 10. Like it really is paramount to not be afraid of small steps. Everyone wants to make big leaps in esports. You can just put 1 foot in front of the other every day and make an impact eventually. So that's my final words of warning, but also advice. Just take it one day at a time.
I love it. And while at this time of filming, we do have Menti applications open through the rest of this week. At the time of viewing, unfortunately, our mentor and Menti applications will be closed. Dr. M and I will be working very hard curating those pairs to make sure that we can have optimal matches like Nick and Trin. But I suppose I could be compelled, if you're interested in being in the program, I could start a waitlist for Cycle 4, which would begin at the end of summer, early fall this year. So if you want to be a mentee or a mentor, let me know. I will start a Google Doc, as that's where all of our stuff lives, and make sure that I get your name down and be able to send you a bit of contact, so when we open back up, you can get first on the list.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Dr. Hayes is in charge, and I am just the one who talks. So first of all, big thank you to GGP for inviting us to be here. Thank you, Rob, for making all of this possible. Like Trin and Nick, y'all are incredible. If every mentee mentor group was like you, we would take over the world together. So it's just so impressive what you two have done. And I'm just so honored that you chose us to be a part of. And I'm so honored that you are coming here talking about your projects. I think you've inspired countless people, and hopefully you will, continue to do that with your stories. And then Dr. Hayes, obviously none of this would happen without you. you are the glue that holds this program together. So thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. You guys, can we try and do a four-person high five? So I'm going to go here, right? I'm going to go here. You're going to go in the middle of the screen. Sarah, you go up. Oh, God. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Have a good event, everyone. That was terrible, you guys. That high five was the worst high five. And I love it.
Just play more Melee.
Mhm.